Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel. My X gene is a creation system. I realized Superman power at first. Chapter 61. He's a little hungry now. Need to eat some food, and at the same time the performance of the two is very good. So Lee Ho-shin decided to give them some rewards. Either verbally or verbally. As a result, before the meal was finished, Bobby, Katie and the others also sat down. Big light bulbs one by one. Lee Ho-shin was suddenly helpless. "Let's not bother you," Katie said with a smile. "What do you say? You girl, you are very bad. Lee, you are really good now. I am afraid that in our school, apart from the professor, you are the best." Iceman Bobby said immediately, although Lee Ho-shin is still very young, in his opinion. Even Cyclops Scott and Wolverine Logan are definitely not as good as the current Lee Ho-shin. So in the entire Xavier Academy, and among the X-Men, Lee Ho-shin is the strongest one. Perhaps only the professor can defeat Lee Ho-shin. After all, the professor is recognized as a strong man in the mutant world. Lee Ho-shin may need some time to grow up if he wants to defeat the professor. But he definitely has that potential. But what Bobby the Iceman didn't know was that if Lee Ho-shin wanted to kill the professor now, it's actually not that difficult. Although Professor X is powerful, it is reflected in psychic abilities. His real combat power is actually very weak. As long as one can resist the professor's mind control, the professor is actually not very powerful. Even an ordinary disabled bald old man. And there are many ways to resist the professor's mind control. What Magneto likes to use most is to run around the world with a big helmet. And Lee Ho-shin has a mental shielding system. So it can also resist Professor X's mind control, and there is no need to wear a helmet. You're not bad either. The power of freezing has been developed to the limit, and it's also very powerful. Or if one day you have a second awakening of the X gene, it will be even more violent. Lee Ho-shin said with a smile. Katie's ability is so powerful if she uses it well. However, Clarice's ability is useful. Alice's ability is also good, and she can fly. I'm so envious. Everyone chatted immediately. I really envy you, abilities are very useful. Only my strength and ability are weak, so it doesn't work at all. At this time, Anna, the Rakshasa girl next to her, spoke with some discomfort. For a moment, everyone was stunned, not knowing what to say. After all, everyone knows that Anna's ability is indeed not suitable for development. No, when we encounter enemies we cannot defeat in the future, we will rely on your ability to save us. Iceman Bobby immediately comforted him. Anna's ability is rather weird, she can absorb other people's ability through touch. But over time, people who have been absorbed may not only lose their abilities. It may even be life-threatening. Although Anna has been working hard to control it all these years, she has been able to avoid harming her life. But it also caused the ability effect to be suppressed to a minimum. Usually, it basically doesn't have much effect. They are fighting purely by relying on the basic physical ability of mutants. After all, mutants are much stronger than ordinary people in terms of physical strength and endurance. Yes, Sister Anna, your ability may be life-saving at a critical moment. Katie said with a smile. Thank you, Anna smiled, just looking forced. Crash. At this moment, warm applause came from the TV hanging in the cafeteria. Everyone looked up subconsciously. That's right, it's the mutant healing potion. This is the latest research product of our company, which can permanently suppress mutant genes. Let them become ordinary people again. A man spoke confidently. Countless reporters around were frantically taking pictures. Worthington Laboratory, Alcatraz Prison, it seems that mutant medicine has been researched. Seeing the news on TV, Lee Ho-shin's eyes froze immediately. Mr. Worthington, can your company's medicine really make mutants become ordinary people again? Immediately another reporter asked. Of course. In my opinion, these so-called mutants are actually human just like us. They just had an infection that affected healthy cellular activity. But now, I stand here and tell you that all that is going to change. This was once the most famous prison in the world, Alcatraz Prison. But now, it is about to become a base for liberating mutants. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you Mutant Healing Potion. It is an antidote that allows mutants to be completely released, and an antidote that cures their diseases. The man introduced the potion in his hand emotionally. Click, click, click. There was another frantic sound of taking photos, and everyone present clapped their hands. No, is there really such a potion? Phantom Cat Kitty said in shock. This looks like a development conference, it should be true. Clarice said softly. Who would want this potion? Iceman Bobby said disdainfully. But Anna next to her was silent. He stared fixedly at the potion in Worthington's hand on the TV. That's right, where would a coward need such a potion in order to fit into society? At this time, Orlo, the storm girl, also came over. That's right, Logan nodded approvingly. I don't quite agree with that point of view. At this time, there was another burly man covered in blue pushing Professor X over. He looked at Storm and Logan, shook his head and said, "Is it timid to save yourself from destruction? Not everyone can easily fit in. You don't need to shave after all." His voice seemed to be joking, but his eyes were extremely serious. "Furball, who are you?" Wolverine Logan looked at the blue-haired man, and said with some displeasure. "Hank McCoy, Minister of Mutant Affairs." The blue-haired man spoke immediately. "Hee, so it's the minister, the suit is nice," Logan suddenly said with a little playfulness. "Hank, this is Logan." Professor X hurriedly introduced them to them. "Wolverine, I've heard you're as ferocious as a beast," Hank said immediately. "Beast, each other." Rog raised his eyebrows when he heard this. "Okay, Hank, what's the matter with you here?" Professor X saw that something was wrong with the atmosphere, so he changed the subject immediately. He didn't want Wolverine Logan and Hank to quarrel. "It's a pleasure to meet you so soon," Hank suddenly said with a smile. "Of course, you are always welcome here, after all, you were once a part of this place." Professor X immediately laughed too. "The purpose of my coming here is also very simple. I just want to tell you the latest news." Hank spoke. "The latest news? Is there any news about Eric?" Professor X's face suddenly brightened. "It's not. You watch TV." Han K shook his head immediately, and then turned to the TV hanging above the cafeteria. At this moment, Worthington's press conference is still in progress. Others have seen it before, so they know a little bit about it. And Wolverine and Storm followed Professor X and had a general understanding of what happened. "We have made some progress recently. The pharmaceutical company in Worthington's laboratory has developed a variant antibody. It can suppress mutant genes. And it is permanently effective. You've seen it too, they call it the antidote." Hank spoke. "Is this potion real? Can it really heal us?" Rakshasa girl Anna stood up immediately, looked at Hank with some excitement and asked. "That's funny, when did we get sick?" Storm girl's face turned a little cold. "Anna, we don't need treatment because we are not sick at all." For Storm, she has always felt proud to be a mutant. She doesn't think mutants are a disease at all, let alone need treatment. "I think this matter is very likely to be led by the government," Logan said, but a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. "This matter has nothing to do with the government at all," Hank immediately denied. "Oh, I've heard this sentence many times," Logan said with a hint of sarcasm. "Son, I fought for mutants before you had claws." Hank snapped back immediately. "Professor, is he serious?" Logan suddenly looked confused. "Look at Professor X." Professor X was immediately speechless. Of course he knew that Logan was much older than Hank. After all, this is a man who was more than 20 years earlier than World War I. But he couldn't tell Hank that Logan's age is more than enough to be your grandfather. This thing seems to be true now. So Professor X can only change the subject again. "We don't need a cure at all. I'm not sick, Anna and you are not sick, all mutants are fine. So we don't need treatment because they are the ones who have the problem." Storm Girl said immediately. "Alice, what do you think?" Lee Ho-Shin looked at Alice beside him, and asked involuntarily. In fact, he wanted to understand Alice's thoughts. If the other party wants to be an ordinary person, he can seek a mutant healing potion for Alice and come back. It's not difficult for him. I used to think that mutants were bad, and they would be discriminated against and bullied wherever they went. But now, I think it's good to be a mutant. Because only with strength can I be by your side. Before Alice could speak, Clarice next to her spoke first. Quote. Lee Ho-Shin was taken aback for a moment. He didn't expect that Clarice thought so. And have the courage to speak out. "Do you like me now?" Alice didn't answer, but asked Li Houshan back. Like it. Li Houshan nodded subconsciously immediately. Who can refuse such a fallen angel with exquisite features, a graceful figure, a strange fragrance, and a whole body of temptation? Even if I'm really sick, I don't care. Alice nodded, and said plainly. Ha ha ha. Hearing their answers, Li Houshan couldn't help but burst out laughing. When everyone saw Li Houshan laughing suddenly, everyone immediately looked over. Li, what's the matter with you? Iceman Bobby, who was sitting opposite Li Houshan, suddenly asked with some doubts. Just now Li Houshan laughed suddenly, which startled him. Li, are you okay? Phantom Cat Kitty also asked worriedly. Li Houshan smiled slightly at the two of them, then stood up. He took a few steps forward and came to Logan and the others. Storm, Wolverine, and Professor X all looked at Li Houshan curiously. They didn't understand why Li Houshan suddenly laughed just now. On the contrary, Hank looked at Li Houshan with some doubts. He had never met Li Houshan. However, although the other party's age does not look very old, but the temperament on his body is the most special one he has ever seen. Blue Hairball, don't say that the X gene is not a disease, even if it is really a disease. I'm willing to be sick, so fight you. Li Houshan looked at Hank immediately, and said with a mocking laugh. Swish. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. They didn't think of Li Houshan, who has always been more amiable, even lazy and a bit idle, to say such a thing. And at this moment, he seemed to be filled with sharpness. Quite a sharp feeling. Li, you are so right. Iceman Bobby couldn't help applauding immediately. At the beginning, he also had some doubts about his abilities, and even wanted to become an ordinary person. But then Poppy found out, what's so bad about being a mutant? Isn't this the superpower that people dream of in those sci-fi movies they watched before? Now that you have it, why not be happy? Nothing to be upset about. Not to mention that it should be treated as a disease, and only neuropathy should be treated. The Storm Girl next to her, although she didn't speak. But the golden light in his eyes flashed, and he couldn't help but nodded to Li Houshan. What Mr. Orlo said is not wrong, we mutants are not wrong, and the X gene is not a disease. This is a gift from God. Those ordinary people are not afraid of us or discriminate against us. It's that they envy us, but they can only be envious. So they turned jealousy into anger, into hatred. You think they don't want to have superpowers? Stop dreaming, they just can't get them. And your hairball, is it a disgusting mutant ability? No, it's not. What you hate is just not getting the friendship and attention of ordinary people. You just like to be accepted by everyone, you only like to cater to everyone, but you have no self. This shows that you are sick, mentally ill. I think it's better for you to see a psychiatrist. Li Houshan immediately said with disdain. Are those ordinary people really afraid and discriminating against mutants? No, they are just jealous. If all the people were mutants, no one would be afraid of mutants. What's more, in my opinion, mutants are the goal and direction of human evolution. Li Houshan secretly thought in his heart. If everyone can awaken the X gene and have mutant abilities, then human beings are truly evolving and progressing. It is good. Li, you are right, we mutants are fine, this is not a disease at all. Storm Girl couldn't help but get excited immediately. Clap clap clap. Bobby the Iceman, Katie the Phantom Cat and others next to him couldn't help clapping their hands directly. Hank, seeing what Li Houshan said, but Professor X didn't stop him, Hank understood. It is impossible to get support this time, because the professor supports the side of mutants. So eventually Hank left. The meal was not pleasant for everyone. Rakshasa Anna left after Hank left. For this little episode, Li Houshan didn't take it seriously. In his opinion, the X gene is a good thing. Moreover, Li Houshan believed that if he could choose to randomly check 100 people, there would definitely be 101 people who expected to get the X gene. The midday sun is warm and pleasant. Clarice is lying on the left of Li Houshan, and Alice is on the right. Just lying quietly like this, I feel the cells are extremely comfortable. And the power of rules is also growing little by little. In this way, lying down and basking in the sun will become stronger, and the days when there are two little beauties by my side. It made Li Houshan very satisfied. The sun gradually weakened in the afternoon. Li Houshan was about to get up, and went back to the dormitory to practice in the combat space. But Katie, the phantom cat, was going to attend an open class. This class was taught by Professor X to everyone. It's just that the place where the professors teach is not where the teachers usually attend class to watch the big class. It was the big office where he worked for a long time. When Lee Ho-shin and Clarice came over, there were already dozens of people in the office. There are both upper and lower grade students. After all, the knowledge taught by the professor is not an ordinary basic course. Instead, it mainly focuses on ideological education and philosophy. He mainly guides and cultivates the three views and cognition of mutant students. Let them have a complete and healthy three views, so it has nothing to do with age. Whether it is an older student or a younger student, in the face of ideological and moral education, in the eyes of the professor, they are treated equally. You guys are here, sit down. Seeing Lee Ho-shin and others walking in, Professor X nodded with a smile. Okay, let's continue the topic just now. When your power exceeds that of ordinary people, it will also start to affect everything around you. For example, if you use your abilities to help the society, benefit the society, and protect the weak, then you are a hero. However, if you use your abilities to destroy the harmony and stability of society, and want to use your individual power to override the entire world, and possess unstoppable desires for power, money, and beauty, then you will eventually become evil. Part. But whether you're a hero or a villain, you're already affecting everything around you. When Professor X said this, his eyes swept over everyone present. Finally, he paused briefly on Lee Ho-shin's body, then turned his head and continued. We mutants are no longer ordinary people from the moment we awaken the X gene. No matter your ability is strong or weak, you must be above ordinary people. So we have to seriously think about this issue. After we have extraordinary power, how should we use this power? We need to figure out where the boundary between heroes and evil is, and what is this boundary? Professor X's words immediately aroused the contemplation of everyone present. Professor, what exactly is this boundary? At this time, a student suddenly asked with a puzzled face. I believe that many people present are not clear about how this boundary is defined. Then let me tell you that this limit is not set by anyone, and there is no clear value or threshold. It exists in our hearts. It's the so-called morality. Only mutants with moral constraints in their hearts will not be swallowed by desire and become slaves to power. Professor X immediately explained to everyone. Professor, but I remember you also said that morality is a form of ideology. It originates from the environment in which society lives and will change according to the consciousness of society. In this way, there is no clear standard. Then we mutants are excluded by ordinary people in this society, so what kind of morality do we have to abide by? At this moment, Bobby the Iceman next to him suddenly asked out of curiosity. The other students were also stunned after hearing Bobby's question. They never thought about it. But if you think about it carefully, you will find the question Bobby asked just right on point. Because in today's society, ordinary people hate and fear the mutants very much. It makes it difficult for them to survive in this mainstream society. But if so, what should they do? That's a great question. When Professor X heard this, a gratified smile appeared on Yan's face. He nodded very positively, and then looked at the crowd. I've said before that morality comes from social consciousness, which changes with the times. So it is difficult to give him a clear standard, and it is impossible to frame him within a certain range, but there is one thing that can specifically explain its scale. That is the law, because the law is the bottom line of morality. It's already the lowest threshold. So as long as it is within the framework of the law, all consciousness can be included in the scope of morality. After all, morality is an extension of law. It is infinite, broader, and more comprehensive. When Professor X said this, he looked at everyone and couldn't help sighing. That's why we, the X-Men, were created. Because some mutants used their abilities to steal, rob, and kill people, causing unimaginable consequences. And these behaviors all violated the law, so they crossed the line. They broke the bottom line of morality. It also makes us all excluded from the mainstream of society by them. Because we have power, we can easily override the law. This allows us to break the moral bottom line at will. Ordinary people are afraid of us, that's how it is. Because they just want to fight us within the frame, compete but definitely don't like us over the frame. So, when Professor X said this, he looked at Lee Haoshan. When we were in the cafeteria at noon, Lee Haoshan was right. It is precisely because we mutants can easily surpass the frame that ordinary people fear us. And fear breeds jealousy, so it's hard for us to fit into their society. If one day, we mutants can be within the same framework as ordinary people, then they will no longer be afraid. When fear is eliminated, jealousy is also eliminated, and then we become equal existences like them. Within the framework, all abide by the ethical boundaries, so that they will not be ostracized by them again. After Professor X finished speaking, everyone fell silent. But Professor, within this framework, is it necessary for us mutants to become ordinary humans, or for ordinary people to have mutant abilities? Only when they are completely consistent can it be possible to eliminate the fear between each other and reduce the jealousy caused by this power gap. But how do you close this power gap between each other? At this time, Lee Haoshan suddenly asked curiously. Because even within the framework of moral constraints, such a balance would not exist. Because mutants always have the ability to override the framework at any time. Don't mess with me, we are all within the frame. But once I get angry, I can always lead the frame. Can such an existence really eliminate the barrier of fear? Lee Haoshan didn't quite believe it. Unless the mutants lose their power, or ordinary people also have the power of mutants. In this way, the power gap between each other can be easily narrowed. But in this case, a new problem has arisen. That is, the power gap between mutants and mutants is also very huge. Strong mutants can also crush weak mutants. The gap is even bigger than the gap between ordinary mutants and ordinary people. If so, what should we do? Just like the current society, although they are all ordinary people, the gap between the rich and the poor is huge. As a result, some people were born, who are very hostile to the rich. What is the difference between those people who hate the rich and the ordinary people who are hostile to mutants? This is a question worth pondering. Professor X was taken aback for a moment. He never thought that Lee Haoshan would ask this question. But this problem, even Professor X, has no way to solve it for the time being. For a while, the professor fell into silence. Just when Professor X and others were still thinking about Lee Haoshan's question. The mutants in the beautiful country suddenly began to gather. It seems that there is a force guiding them, all heading towards a certain city. As night fell, the city became restless. Chaos and danger seemed to hang over the city. Pedestrians rarely dare to walk outside, and occasionally people come out, but they are also in a hurry. But inside a cathedral in this city, there are figures shaking. But these are not pious believers at all, but mutants guided by power. On the podium of the cathedral, a tall and thin man was talking about something incessantly. Presumably everyone has watched the press conference, and they should all know about the antidote. But I'm very angry. We mutants are powerful and have extraordinary power. This is the best gift God has bestowed on us, but they even said that we are sick. They're not trying to heal us at all. It's about dismantling our power and making us completely lose it. I don't want to be cured because I'm not sick at all. So we who have strength and strength must unite. We want to organize into a strong group. Only in this way can we not be a mess and have stronger strength. Shout it out to the fools who think we have a disease. We are not sick, we are strong, and they are the ones who are sick. We need to let them know that we are not easy to mess with. The middle-aged man shouted hoarsely. There is nothing wrong, we are not sick. Those weak humans are our common enemy. I don't want to lose my strength. At this time, the mutants roared crazily. Seeing this scene, the middle-aged man's eyes flashed with satisfaction. If this continues, we will be wiped out. Their goal is not to accept us at all, but to exterminate us. At this moment, an old voice sounded from behind everyone. Swish! The whole place fell silent immediately. Because this is the first time someone has said bluntly that those ordinary people are afraid of their power. To destroy them. These mutants suddenly became a little curious, who dared to say that? They all turned to look. I saw a man in black clothes and a red cloak, looking at everyone calmly. This person's hair is a little gray, and he is not young, but he has a lot of aura. There are several people standing beside him, and they don't seem to be weak. Are you scaremongering? The middle-aged mutant on the podium spoke immediately. He could tell that this group of people came here to hold the power here in their hands. And that's exactly what he wanted to do. Organize these mutants to form a special group, and he controls this group behind the scenes. That's the middle-aged mutant's plan. But now it seems that this person in front of him seems to want to seize power. So he had to stand up and defend his position. Alarmist. Magneto immediately swept towards everyone present indifferently. Finally, his eyes fell on the middle-aged man on the podium. Believe it or not, there are already special operations forces at this moment, and the mission has been launched. It may be today, or it may be tomorrow, a group of armed people will rush into your hiding place. Then let you forcefully receive treatment under your desperate and helpless begging. He said indifferently. Impossible, it's just your. The middle-aged mutant's expression changed slightly, and he quickly scolded. Boom, but before he finished speaking, he suddenly saw a ball of blazing fire. He slammed towards himself. The middle-aged mutant jumped to the side in embarrassment. But the violent explosion still blasted his back into a bloody mess. He raised his head in a little embarrassment, looking at Magneto and the others, with fear in his eyes. It's really itchy. Pyro immediately raised his middle finger in disdain. Am I scaremongering? I think you know better than me. Magneto swept across the middle-aged mutant, and said in a calm voice. He doesn't care about a mere trash mutant. While speaking, Magneto passed through the crowd and came to the podium. The purpose of my coming here is very simple. I just want to find some partners who can accomplish great things with me. As for you wanting to stand on the human side and wag your tail to survive, let us mutants stand up and be the masters of the house. From then on, let human beings fear us and avoid us, instead of us being frightened like mice, living in underground drains. Whether to be an emperor or a beggar, it's up to you to choose. After Magneto finished speaking, he immediately turned and left. The red cloak is automatic without wind, looking extremely domineering. Pyro showed a hint of disdain towards the group of mutants. In his opinion, the garbage mutants who only know how to wag their tails and beg for mercy from ordinary people and hide in the sewers like mice are inferior to ordinary people. For a while, everyone watched Magneto and the others leave with different expressions. There was even a little commotion among the crowd. If Lee Ho-shin asked Professor X the question in the morning, if Magneto was present, he will definitely tell Lee Ho-shin that it is absolutely impossible for ordinary humans to coexist with mutants. Therefore, mutants want to be above board, and even live like ordinary people. Then there is only one possibility: the entire Earth is full of mutants. And to do so, there are only two ways. The first is that all human beings become mutants. The second is that ordinary humans are all wiped out. If Professor X belongs to the doves looking for the coexistence of ordinary humans and mutants, then Magneto is a hawk who does whatever it takes to achieve his goals. That's why, for decades, Magneto has been fighting for the ideal in his heart. Even for this reason, he would part ways with his best friend, Professor X, or even become an enemy of life and death. As Magneto left the hall, finally someone in the crowd couldn't help following him. After all, the deeds of Magneto have been circulating among mutants for decades. Kill the Black Emperor and take control of the Hellfire Club. Assassinate the president of the beautiful country. Happened several times with X-Men, Fierce Collision. It was the mutant extermination plan that once destroyed Stryker. Magneto's deeds can't be finished even in one day. He is also a hero and idol to many mutants. Therefore, his prestige among mutants is not lower than that of Professor X. So when Magneto and others left the church, more than a dozen people had already followed. Although most of them are ordinary mutants, Magneto found some good seedlings among them. For example, the Night Girl, who is good at short-distance flash movement and can even perceive the level and number of mutants. Arc Light, that can emit shock waves through palm clapping. This made Magneto nod. What he needs is not a bunch of useless waste. Rather, mutants who can actually function. In a flash, it was another 3 days. In the past 2 days, almost the entire Xavier Academy has been discussing about the antidote. Some students are very anxious, some students are scared, some students want to try it, and some students are very angry. The antidote, to these mutant students, was like dropping a bomb in a small river. Arouse ripples, waves and flowers. Lee, the students are very disturbed these 2 days. Clarice said with some concern. After all, the medicine for mutants is just to suppress the X gene in the body, making it look like a normal person. But in essence, mutants are still mutants, and they are still fundamentally different from ordinary people. And the worst thing is that after taking the mutant drug, he lost the power of the mutant, but he was not treated as an ordinary person. It is very likely that they were caught and used as guinea pigs for research. It's much easier to control them who have lost their power. At that time, the fate of mutants will be the worst. Li Hoshin spoke immediately. What? Is this the truth? Clarice immediately covered her small mouth, a little in disbelief. After all, in her opinion, those who lose their strength after taking mutant potions are ordinary people. They should enjoy the same rights and treatment as ordinary people. However, he did not expect that the truth of the facts would be so cruel. After becoming an ordinary person, will he be used for research even more cruelly? Humph, those people should be killed. At this time, Alice next to her couldn't help snorting coldly. Speaking of mutant research, Alice hated it the most. After all, she was in the Mutant Institute and was imprisoned for many years. My mind is full of bad memories. If it wasn't for the appearance of Li Hoshin, she would have felt a ray of light and warmth. I am afraid that Alice's soul has long been plunged into endless pain and darkness, lost in chaos and killing. I'm sorry, Miss Alice. Seeing Alice's cold eyes, Clarice suddenly opened her mouth apologetically. Essentially, my strength also comes from the X gene. So this mutant potion is also a great threat to me. Li Hoshin suddenly thought secretly. Don't worry about my affairs. At this moment, Li Hoshin heard Anna's roar. He turned around curiously. Not far away, beside the flower bed, Bobby the Iceman and Anna the Rakshasa seemed to be arguing. Anna, this mutant medicine is really not that good. Those people must have other goals. Iceman Bobby said bitterly immediately. Shut up, there will be no results if you continue talking like this. If you really just want me to reject this mutant healing potion, then stop talking about it. I don't care what their purpose is, as long as I don't have this hateful mutant ability. You know what, I don't want to be a mutant anymore. Really, I've had enough of it. Do you want to watch me become an old woman with this ability? A lonely old woman who can't be loved and enjoy love all her life. Anna growled immediately. No, it's not like that. Anna, am I not your boyfriend? How can you say that no one loves you and you can't enjoy love? Bobby immediately argued. You shut up. Anna blushed instantly with anger, and she no longer wanted to talk to Bobby. It's Bobby and Sister Anna. Clarice was a little curious. It seems that Anna wants to take that antidote. Li Hoshin sighed suddenly. Seeing Bobby's face full of annoyance and puzzlement, Li Hoshin was speechless for a while. Don't Bobby know that love is not for talking, but for doing? The love that can't be done, what enjoyment are you talking about? Li Hoshin shook his head for a while. But this kind of thing, he will not take the initiative to say, it needs Bobby to enlighten himself. Ding. Congratulations, Master, the power of rules has reached the set value. At this moment, the system's notification sounded. This is a small function set by Li Hoshin. You can set the power of the rules to remind him after reaching a certain percentage. In this way, Li Hoshin doesn't have to check the property panel all the time. Moreover, being able to use the power of rules in a timely manner will not waste the recovery time of the power of rules. In case the power of the rules is full, he didn't even notice it. A few days of recovery were wasted. However, what he set this time was not a full value reminder. Instead, remind him when it reaches 20%. It has finally reached 20%, and a new template can be opened again. Li Hoshin suddenly showed a satisfied look on his face. He has been looking forward to it for a long time. After all, although Kakarot's template is powerful and has more potential, it seems that it will never go online. But Kakarot, after all, is just an ordinary Saiyan. There are too many limitations. So Li Hoshin is going to pile up a few buffs for himself. Let's choose Majin Buu. Without any hesitation, Li Hoshin directly started creating template characters. Li Hoshin has become more and more familiar with the creation system, adding functions, etc. It can be said to be familiar with the road. So not long after, a new template character was added to the God level inheritance panel. I saw that there is an extra sub panel in the current property panel. God level inheritance system template 2. Character. Boo. Race. Demon. Progress. 3%. Abilities. Dancing in the air, high-speed flight, high-speed movement, belly attack, qigong wave, air bomb, momentum I, super explosive airflow, burst wave, mind power, deformation light, recovery, differentiation, shape change, recovery light, healing light. Talents. Space survival, super cell regeneration. That's right, I didn't expect to have so many abilities with a progress of only 3%. And basically Fat Boo has all the abilities. Li Houshan nodded in satisfaction immediately. In this way, his life-saving ability is really too strong. Go and try your ability. Some of Majin Buu's abilities overlap with Kakarot's, such as qigong waves, air bombs, high-speed flight and so on. But it also has unique abilities, such as mind power, deformation light, recovery, differentiation, shape change, recovery light, healing light. And 2 natural abilities, cosmic survival and super cell regeneration. Lee, what are you thinking? You are smiling so happily. Clarice next to her suddenly asked with some doubts. From just now, Li Houshan was suddenly in a daze. Then there was another smirk. This made Clarice a little worried. What happened to Li Houshan? Ha ha ha, because there is a breakthrough, of course it is worth being happy. Li Houshan laughed suddenly, and hit Clarice on the face. Alice next to her suddenly turned cold, so Li Houshan also made up quickly. Only then did the other party's face soften. What broke through? Clarice covered her face immediately and asked a little shyly. Alice didn't speak, but there was some curiosity in her eyes. I seem to have awakened a new ability. Li Houshan spoke immediately. Anyway, he has awakened his ability several times, and he is not afraid of doing it a few more times. Wow, have you awakened your ability again? Clarice suddenly became curious. In her eyes, Li Houshan is an all-round boyfriend. Strength surpasses Colossus, energy attack surpasses Cyclops, flight is faster than Storm, fighting skills are not familiar with Wolverine. In addition to not having Logan's self-healing ability, there is no Chin's mind power. It is almost about to have the advantages of all members of the X-Men. A lot of small abilities, do you want to see them? Li Houshan said with a smile. Yeah, Clarice said excitedly. Come on, give me the dagger. Li Houshan said with a smile. Why do you need a dagger? Clarice was taken aback for a moment, but she obediently took it out. Puff, he can be regarded as a man who doesn't talk too much cruelly, so he slashed over with a dagger. In fact, Li Houshan wanted to try to see if it would hurt to be attacked. After all, in Dragon Ball, the puppet does not respond to being beaten. Of course, that's limited to normal attacks, and many attacks in the later stage can pile him up and cause damage. So Li Houshan speculates that as long as no harm is done, there is no pain. What? Clarice didn't expect that Li Houshan would cut herself with a dagger, and suddenly exclaimed. Just when she was about to bandage Li Houshan, she was stunned. There was no blood flowing out of Li Houshan's arm, and the wound healed even more quickly. As if it never appeared. This. Seeing this scene, Clarice was shocked and speechless. Li, you actually have the same self-healing ability as Wolverine. And the speed of self-healing seems to be much stronger than Uncle Logan. Clarice said in surprise. Different. At this moment, Alice next to her spoke. There was no blood coming out of his wound just now. This shows that the knife of the dagger did not cause any harm to him. Wolverine's self-healing ability will be damaged, but the cells heal themselves too fast, and the bleeding will stop soon. Alice said seriously. In the depths of her eyes, Li Houshan could also see the trace of shock. It's just that Alice is less expressive than Clarice. Good eyesight, as expected of Alice. Li Houshan immediately gave a thumbs up. My God, Li, you actually have such a powerful self-healing ability. Clarice felt happy for Li Houshan from the bottom of her heart. Because in this way, Li Houshan's ability to survive will be greatly improved. If you go to perform dangerous tasks in the future, your ability to save your life will be much stronger. In Clarice's opinion, this is more happy than her own life-saving ability. This is not self-healing ability, but recovery ability. Li Houshan said with a smile. Through the dagger just now, he has already discovered some clues. although the self-healing ability and Majin Buu's recovery ability seem similar. But in fact, there is an essential difference. Wolverine's self-healing ability, first of all, heals himself when he is hurt. And Buu's recovery ability is actually not damaged. It's just that the body is deformed and is returning to its original appearance. Because of the moment the dagger cut Li Houshan's skin just now. His body voluntarily followed the edge of the blade, wriggled strangely, and twisted. It looked like it was cut by a knife, but it was not actually hurt. So it's resilience, not self-healing. From this point, it can also explain why in Dragon Ball, when fighting Buu, many times he attacked Buu, but he didn't weaken the opponent's chi by half. But in later battles, when he was injured, Buu's chi would drop sharply. This fully illustrates the difference between being injured and not being injured. So one of Buu's two natural abilities is super cell regeneration. When the cells regenerate, they will consume the excess gas in the body. If the super cell regeneration is used too much, Buu's recovery ability and regeneration ability will be weakened. So this is essentially different from Wolverine's ability. Relatively speaking, Buu's ability is much higher. Is there any more? Is there any more? Clarice said a little excitedly. It's like a little girl with eyes full of joy in the playground. Have. Li Houshan smiled immediately. Then he picked up the dagger and carefully tapped it on Clarice's hand. Suddenly a small hole appeared like a mosquito bite. Okay. Clarice was a little puzzled. Although it didn't hurt, she didn't understand. Li Houshan put a little blood here, what does it mean? Healing light. Li Houshan immediately touched Clarice's small wound with his palm. Suddenly, a purple beam of light gradually covered Clarice's wound from his palm. In an instant, the small cut by the dagger was instantly healed and healed. Oh my God, Li. You have awakened the ability to heal. Clarice was really shocked. Having the ability to heal itself isn't particularly surprising, after all. Many mutants have this ability. One of the best is Wolverine Logan, but this is not unique to Wolverine. It's only, relatively speaking, the mutant ability that can heal others. It is much rarer. Not only that, Li Houshan smiled immediately, and then turned the dagger. The next moment, Clarice's sideburns snapped off. But before Clarice could react, Li Houshan raised his hand and moved forward a little. Restore the light. Suddenly, blue-green light shone on Clarice's hair. In the blink of an eye, the temples that had been cut off by Li Houshan strangely recovered. This. Clarice suddenly became numb, and her beautiful eyes were rounded. In this short period of time, Li Houshan shocked her. Wave after wave is astonishing. Originally thought that the other party just awakened some simple small abilities. But the little abilities that Li Houshan talked about are becoming rarer and more astonishing. Whether it is the recovery ability that exceeds Wolverine, or the healing light just now, and the recovery light now. Just take one out alone, it is a very powerful mutant ability. But now these three kinds of abilities are gathered in one person. More importantly, this is just the little ability that Li Houshan has just awakened. He also possesses amazing strength himself, a terrifying energy attack, and the ability to fly. Just now Clarice was still thinking, if Li Houshan had the self-healing ability comparable to Wolverine, he would be almost omnipotent. It turned out that Li Houshan turned around and really possessed a more amazing recovery and healing ability than Wolverine's self-healing ability. Numb. Clarice is really numb now. Even if Li Houshan told her, there are other abilities. For example, she will never be surprised by the mind power that manipulates objects like a piano. Alice next to her didn't speak, but she was already numb from shock. She has been in the Mutant Research Institute for so long, so she has some understanding of mutants. So Alice knows more clearly about these abilities in Li Houshan's body at this moment. Any one you take out is very, very precious. As a result, so many abilities now belong to him alone. It's incredible. Ha ha. However, at this moment, Li Houshan smiled. Immediately, the hand holding the dagger was thrown away violently. Then, under Clarice's shocked gaze, the dagger slowly floated up. Whoosh whoosh. Immediately by his side, dancing slowly like an elf. Sigma QQ. Clarice swore she really wouldn't be shocked again. But her small mouth was already surprisingly capable of stuffing eggs. Li Houshan actually really awakened the ability of mind power. She didn't know what to say anymore. Even Clarice has suspected that the other party is really a mutant like her. Could it be that the gods descended to Earth? But even gods don't have so many abilities, right? Alice next to her was not much better. Ma's whole person is going to be stupid. Lee, what kind of man is he? Women always pursue the strong. This is the same truth through the ages. Beauties match heroes. This is also the survival of the fittest. So, if you really don't know how to pick up girls. So as long as you are strong enough and good enough, beautiful women will come of you. If you bloom, butterflies will come. It's not chicken soup, it's stark reality. So at this moment, Alice, who already cared about Lee Ho-shin very much. He sank even more. Don't be so surprised, I haven't finished showing it yet. Seeing the two girls like this, Lee Ho-shin immediately smiled proudly. Even if he is as strong as Lee Ho-shin, he still has a desire to show off in front of the girl he likes. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Clarice and Alice were suddenly numb and didn't know what to say. Next is the big head. Lee Ho-shin smiled immediately. Then, under the stunned and numb eyes of the two women, he grabbed the arms of the two women. Boom! A terrifying white air wave suddenly exploded. Then, a lavender protective shield appeared around Lee Ho-shin's body. Whoosh! The next moment, Lee Ho-shin led the two girls through the sky in an instant. What is that? It seems to be Lee Ho-shin, Clarice, and Alice. They're flying. The students of Xavier College were shocked by this sudden change. But soon they saw that standing in the purple light ball were Lee Ho-shin and three people. Everyone showed a look of shock. There are many people who are envious. After all, they also want to fly. What is that guy Lee doing? Katie the Phantom Cat pouted all of a sudden. It was obvious that Lee Ho-shin felt a little dissatisfied seeing Lee Ho-shin flying with Clarice and Alice, but not her. So fast. Professor X, who was standing in front of the office window and looking out, was also shocked when he saw this scene. Lee Ho-shin's flying speed is too amazing. Even surpassed the X-Men's Blackbird fighter. Teacher, what is that? Scott was discussing Chin with the professor, but unexpectedly, he also saw this scene. But Lee Ho-shin's speed is really too amazing. It seems that Lee has become stronger again. Professor X exclaimed, but there was a hint of worry in his voice. He was worried that the other party didn't hear what he said to Lee Ho-shin last time. All attribute Lee Ho-shin's becoming stronger to the awakening of the X gene. If this continues, Professor X is very worried about whether Lee Ho-shin's lifespan will be shortened sharply. If such a good seedling died from the sudden increase in strength, he will feel very sorry. Because in Professor X's view, Lee Ho-shin still has a great and perfect future. Lee, where are we going? Looking at the rapidly shrinking Xavier College, Clarice finally realized and exclaimed involuntarily. Alice next to her didn't speak, but the already numb eyes in her eyes became even more numb. Alice can also fly, but only up to a few thousand meters. If it was any taller, her body would not be able to bear it. But at this moment, Lee Ho-shin had already brought the two of them to an altitude meters. And the speed is very astonishing, far exceeding 10 times or even dozens of times of her flying speed. Take you to a romantic place. Lee Ho-shin said with a smile. Ah, I know, is it Romanceland? Clarice said excitedly. She had heard of this country a long time ago, and it was a romantic place. The whole country straddles the Eurasian continent, not only with beautiful scenery, but also surrounded by the sea on three sides. There is the depth of the Black Sea in the north, the civilization of the Mediterranean Sea in the south, and the romance of the Aegean Sea in the west. There are also magnificent monuments left over from the Ottoman, Byzantine, and Roman empires, as well as natural landforms such as Pamukkale and fairy chimneys. Among them, Lake Tuz is known as the mirror of the sky of the romantic country version. At a glance, the entire lake is a faint pink, dazzling like a fairyland. There are hospitable people, splendid culture, charming scenery and mysterious legends. It is a romantic place that many people yearn for. Clarice heard Lee Ho-shin say that she wanted to take them to a romantic place. So the first thing that popped up in my mind was romantic country. For her, this is full of expectations. Romantic country. No, I'm not taking you to romantic land, but romantic star. Li Houshan laughed out loud immediately, and the white airwaves around his body instantly turned into gold. And his whole body also turned into golden hair. Super Saiyan transformation. Boom boom boom. In an instant, Li Houshan's speed increased by 10 times again. In just a blink of an eye, it rushed out of the Earth. Head straight for Saturn, one of the 9 nearby planets. Oh my god. This. All of a sudden, Clarice and Alice were shocked. It turned out that Li Houshan didn't take them to any country at all. Li Houshan actually took them and left the Earth. The vast starry sky is blue, shining with charming depth. The Earth is like a blue water polo. Beautiful, pretty. This is the universe. We can actually breathe in space. Clarice and Alice were shocked for a moment. Li Houshan had a smug look on his face. This is naturally Majin Buu's ability. Go, whoosh. Li Houshan immediately increased his speed to the limit. Boom. Dazzling light flickered all over Li Houshan's body, and he galloped away in the deep blue starry sky. With a golden light, like the tail of a comet. This is the first time he has soared to the limit. Even Li Houshan was a little surprised by the speed at this time. It turns out that this is what it feels like to fly with all your strength. From the Earth to Saturn, it is only a few dozen breaths. Arrive. Li Houshan stopped immediately, looking at the beautiful planet in front of him. Romantic turkey, where is the dazzling Saturn beautiful? He immediately looked at Clarice and Alice. This is so beautiful. Clarice said in shock. Although I have seen the 9 planets of the solar system in pictures before. But those pictures are not as shocking as the real scene in front of them. The slowly rotating Saturn is surrounded by a colorful halo. This deep universe is full of mystery, with a hint of fairy tale color. Very beautiful. Thank you, Li. Clarice looked at Saturn in front of her, and her eyes immediately turned red. This is the most precious and best birthday present I've ever received. A crystal drop dripped from the corner of her eye, dripped down her cheek and onto the protective shield, and was instantly evaporated. Quote. Li Houshan was taken aback for a moment. He just wanted to try Majin Buu's abilities. So take Clarice and Alice by the way to see Saturn. Unexpectedly, today is Clarice's birthday. For a moment, I was a little embarrassed. Of course, he won't say it. Anyway, as long as I don't admit it, it's not me who is embarrassed. Besides, the atmosphere has already been enhanced here, so. Happy birthday. He clapped his hands immediately, and then took out a tissue from his arms. In an instant, a dazzling light flashed. Clarice and Alice suddenly closed their eyes involuntarily. Deformation light. However, the moment they opened their eyes. But he found that Li Houshan was holding a small piece of delicious cake at some point. Happy birthday, Li Houshan said with a smile. Woo. When Clarice saw the cake, she couldn't stand it anymore. He fell directly into Li Houshan's arms. Even though she was usually reserved and Alice was by her side, Clarice couldn't help it. She is so touched. Which woman can resist this kind of atmosphere? Not to mention Clarice, who lacked love and warmth since she was a child. Plum. Seeing this scene, Alice on the other side also had a flash of warmth in her eyes. While most women are not accepting of their partner, there are other women. But Alice doesn't care. Anyway, whether she, Clarice, or Li Houshan, the 3 of them are not ordinary people. For Alice, it doesn't matter if she doesn't get the title. Anyway, she herself was just a mutant who was despised and discriminated against. If it weren't for Li Houshan, he might still be living a chaotic and depraved life in the Mutant Research Institute. Or that day, it was not Li Houshan who entered her room, but someone else. Then the ending will be completely different. With her strength, she might kill 1 or 2 members of the X-Men. Then the X-Men will definitely not let him go. This is another ending. If that's the case, I don't know what the future will look like. So for Alice, Li Houshan not only saved her life, and dragged her out of her depravity and chaos. What's more, Li Houshan treats Clarice so well. Doesn't it mean that this is a person worthy of entrustment? It's my luck that I was able to meet Li. Alice thought secretly in her heart. What else has nothing to do with me? Well, Clarice, eat the cake, or you'll be full of saliva. Li Houshan patted Clarice on the back immediately, and said with a smile. Hate. Clarice blushed immediately, and then she came out of Li Houshan's arms. I looked at Alice next to her Her red face was under the light of Saturn. It looks cuter. In fact, Lee Haoshan is a time traveler after all. Therefore, in his values, he still has some influence from his previous life. Therefore, even if he already knew what Clarice and Alice thought, but still did not really reveal the relationship between the three. In this regard, he has a little ostrich mentality. Anyway, in his opinion, this world is not an ordinary world. If he was an ordinary person, he might simply find a job, marry a wife and have children and live his whole life just like in his previous life. But he is not an ordinary person after all. Although he does not recognize the so-called greater ability, greater responsibility. But with power, it is difficult for him to avoid the evil power of this world. As the saying goes, people can't help themselves in the rivers and lakes. When your strength reaches a certain level and you can't completely crush the world. Even if you don't look for trouble, trouble will find you. So Lee Haoshan is also trying his best to change his mind. Make yourself more accepting of this chaotic world. The strong should be treated like the strong. For example, accepting the love of both Clarice and Alice. However, when the three of Lee Haoshan were still sharing the cake outside Saturn, a violent explosion suddenly occurred at Xavier College. Next moment, the terrifying thought power formed a storm, which immediately penetrated the world. The entire Xavier Academy trembled. A pair of senior students who were secretly dating in the college garden were so frightened that they almost collapsed on the ground. There were a few laughter by the small lake, and the lower grade students who were playing card games were all thrown off their feet. On the indoor basketball court, a male student who used his ability to shoot was muttering to himself in shock, "Is my ability user so strong? I just want to shoot blue. Idiot, do you think you have such a great ability? It's not you at all. Go out and see what happened." All of a sudden, the entire Xavier Academy seemed a little flustered. Boom. But at this moment, a building suddenly exploded. A terrifying storm of thought power swept across in an instant. The shocked teachers and students looked at the collapsed building in horror. Whoosh! Everyone saw a figure flying out of the collapsed building. Surrounded by thoughts, the ruins of the building were cleared up instantly. Next moment, the whole person is like a cannonball, soaring into the sky and disappearing. What the hell happened? There will be no enemy attack. What a terrible power! The students around couldn't help but speculate immediately, and some became even more worried. Chin, Scott, who rushed out of the teaching building in a wheelchair, couldn't help roaring. His face was full of pain. "Don't worry students, the school is not in danger, the X-Men will protect you." It wasn't the enemy just now, but Jean Grey, one of the former X-Men. Professor X's voice suddenly appeared in the minds of everyone in the school. Jean Grey, isn't she dead? I heard it was to protect the X-Men, and finally sacrificed. Could it be an evil spirit crawling out of hell? All of a sudden, the crowd became even more terrified, and doubts filled their minds. There are no evil spirits, and Jean is not dead. It's just that it was hit hard back then. Over the years, in fact, it has been in treatment. Just now she woke up, causing the power in her body to go out of control. I just left the school because I was worried about hurting everyone. Don't worry. Professor X instantly sensed the clutter and worry in their minds. The powerful spiritual power instantly heals everyone's heart. Only then did everyone breathe a sigh of relief and relax. Because they believe in Professor X. Since the professor has said so, then there will be no problem. For a while, the students recovered their status again. It's time to eat and drink. The young lovers by the lake still continue to play. But everyone in the X-Men is not so relaxed. They know more than the average student. All the people had serious expressions on their faces. Senior Chin, Phantom Cat Kitty's face became a little tense. Regarding the second personality in Chin, the professor had already told everyone about it last time. So seeing Chin suddenly explode this time, everyone became a little worried. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Professor X smiled and told everyone not to be nervous. Are you okay? That's fine, otherwise I can be scared to death. Kitty, the phantom cat, let out a sigh of relief from time to time. The force of thought that Chin erupted just now was simply terrifying. Chin, Scott suddenly felt pain on his face. Storm came over and patted him on the shoulder, then looked at the professor. Professor, Shall we go find Chin and come back? For Chin, Stormy Girl's heart is also complicated. Bobby, go and call Lee over here. Professor X didn't answer the question in the storm, but turned to look at Bobby the Iceman next to him. It is good. Bobby nodded and turned around to leave, but suddenly stopped halfway. Professor, Lee, where is it? He asked with some embarrassment. It will appear in the small garden soon. Professor X said to Poppy the Iceman. He has already seen Lee Ho-shin, Clarice and Alice flying from the sky through the eyes of other students. In fact, with his ability, he could easily invade Clarice or Alice's mind through their mouths, to convey the message. But Professor X did not do this out of respect for Lee Ho-shin, because he knew that Lee Ho-shin especially hated this. And he was very vigilant, so Professor X would not do such a thing. Okay, I know. Bobby nodded, and immediately walked outside. Sure enough, as soon as he arrived at the small garden, he saw Lee Ho-shin and Clarice, and the two girls flew down. What's the matter? Is there an enemy coming to attack? When Lee Ho-shin approached Xavier College just now, he found a building collapsed and turned into ruins. Some teachers are starting to clean up the ruins and restore the appearance. But it doesn't look like an explosion from everyday experimentation. It seems to be caused by a powerful person, so Lee Ho-shin is a little curious. After all, Xavier College now has Professor X, as well as Wolverine, Colossus, Iceman Bobby and others. The strength is not weak at all. No one should attack Xavier Academy at their own risk. It's the piano. Iceman Bobby immediately told Lee Ho-shin what happened just now and what the professor said. Chin, did she really go berserk? Chapter 71. Lee Ho-shin was taken aback when he heard Bobby's words, and then sighed softly in his heart. He thought that his participation should have changed the plot. After all, Scott did not die, and Chin was brought back to Xavier College by them. But unexpectedly, Chin still broke out and left Xavier College. This made Lee Ho-shin feel a little unhappy. Because fate is unpredictable. But fate seems to have a fixed trajectory. This makes the gears of fate turn slowly, as if no one can escape. But most of the time travelers hate the so-called theory of fate. The professor asked me to call you, maybe I have something to say. After Bobby finished talking, he called Lee Ho-shin together and rushed towards the professor. Lee Ho-shin nodded, and followed Alice and Clarice. Soon he came to the professor's side. Basically everyone from the X-Men was there. It's just that other people are better, but Cyclops Scott is full of pain and regret. Wolverine, on the other hand, has a complicated and silent face. Lee, you are here. Professor X smiled and nodded to Lee Ho-shin. In the depths of his eyes, there is an inexplicable look flickering. It made Lee Ho-shin feel a little puzzled. Of course, only he has captured this point, and others have not discovered it. For a while, Lee Ho-shin seemed to have some other views on the professor. Professor, how is Chin? Lee Ho-shin asked curiously. Professor X should have been observing Chin these days. How could she suddenly explode? Chin's power is very powerful. Besides the power of mutants, there is also a special power in her body. It is that force that makes Chin powerful and dangerous at the same time. If that power erupts, the consequences will not only be ordinary people, but also mutants, and even the world may be destroyed. So we have to bring her back and help her control that power. Professor X said. Sure enough, the Phoenix Force has exploded. Lee Ho-shin immediately understood in his heart. And Professor X has already discovered the Phoenix power in Chin's body. Perhaps it was discovered a long time ago. He suddenly thought. Charles, although Chin's power is very dangerous, you have to understand that if you only rely on suppression, then what you will end up with will only be a rebound, and an unimaginable explosion. Having said that, Wolverine looked solemn, and said to Professor X seriously, no one is willing to be controlled by others. After all, the former Wolverine was almost manipulated into a ruthless killing machine. So he knows very well how uncomfortable it is to be controlled by others. When Wolverine said these words, Alice next to Lee Ho-shin also subconsciously clenched her fists. Because of this sentence, it also hit her heart directly. Whether it is a mutant or an ordinary person, they don't like someone to control themselves. As long as we are human, we yearn for freedom. Free. Lee Ho-shin nodded immediately. For this point, Lee Houshan can also understand that he also doesn't like being controlled by others. And the meaning of Wolverine is also obvious. He hoped that Professor X would stop using his ability to suppress Chin's heart. Not only would it be impossible to control Chin for a long time, but it would only make the opponent's rebound more intense. Although Lee Houshan also understands that Professor X's original intention should be good. But some things are not necessarily good if you think they are good. For example, parents often say to their children, "I am doing it for your own good." Many people know that parents will not harm themselves, they are indeed for the good of their children. But those are just what they think is good. Is it really good for children? Not necessarily, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is that in the long run, they will control the children's words and deeds by saying that they are good for you. It will only make the child reach the rebellious age and enter an unimaginable rebellious period. Bring unimaginable danger. Logan, I know what you mean. But you don't understand how terrifying the power in Chin's body is. After Professor X was silent for a while, he spoke slowly. But I can promise you, this time I won't control him anymore. He slowly raised his head to look at Wolverine, with a smile on his face, and said gently. This scene made Lee Houshan stunned. Lee Houshan felt that there seemed to be an unusual light in the professor's eyes. It's just that this time the light was not seen by others at all. But it was just like this that made Lee Houshan more and more confused. Reminiscent of the way the other party looked at me before, and the strange light now. He always felt that Professor X was a bit weird today. Charles, I thank you for Jean. When Wolverine Logan heard what Professor X said, a hint of excitement appeared on his face. Scott raised his head to look at Logan, then looked at that Professor X hadn't spoken, and remained silent. It's just that the pain on his face hasn't diminished in the slightest. Logan, Orlo, let's go, pick up the piano and go home. Professor X said. Okay, teacher. Storm Girl nodded immediately. Wolverine, on the other hand, was perfectly happy. It seems that Professor X was able to figure it out, which in his opinion is a very worthwhile celebration. Lee, you come with me too. Professor X looked at Lee Houshan and said. It is good. Lee Houshan pondered for a moment, then nodded. It seems that he has been included in these missions several times. Although he has money to take, sometimes Lee Houshan really wants to make a living. Wait, there is a task. Suddenly, Lee Houshan seemed to think of something. That is, every time a mission is set out, someone else asks and invites him. The power of my rules is an equivalent exchange. Then if I accept the task and complete the task, is it considered an equivalent exchange? If it counts, then I have completed some kind of exchange. If calculated in this way, I agree to other people's requests, or complete the task. Isn't it possible to obtain the power of rules in reverse? Woohoo! Suddenly, Lee Houshan thought of a bold possibility. A system that rewards the source if he creates one, accepts a request, or completes a task. Could it be a bug? The origin is the explanation of the power of rules in his new attribute bar. Suddenly, Lee Houshan's heart became hot. If this bold guess can be realized, doesn't it mean that in the future, he doesn't need to wait so hard for the power of rules to slowly recover? Instead, as long as you accept other people's requests or complete tasks, you can get a lot of power of rules. If that's the case, it's really big. Lee Houshan suddenly became excited. This idea lingered in his mind for a long time, unable to dissipate. Lee, what's the matter with you? Clarice and Alice next to him were the first to feel Lee Houshan's strangeness. After all, they rarely saw Lee Houshan, so they were so excited about something. And at this moment, Lee Houshan's excited appearance made them a little curious. What is it that makes Lee Houshan so happy? I'm fine. Just thought of something. Lee Houshan smiled and pinched Clarice's face. Oh, Clarice blushed instantly. Let's go. Professor X also glanced at Lee Houshan in surprise. He was naturally aware of the change in the other party just now, but X didn't say much in the fight. Teacher, do you know where Chin is? Storm Girl asked with some doubts. Although she is resisting me, I already know where she is. Professor X said gently. The strength of Chin is indeed very strong, and Professor X's spiritual power cannot invade it. But there is no doubt that such a powerful psychic power appears in one place. With Professor X's power, he can naturally sense it. So even if he didn't invade Chin's mind, he could still find the other party's whereabouts. Let's go. Soon everyone set off. A large truck is driving rapidly on the highway. There are police and secret agents guarding the front and back, and it looks very serious. And inside the big truck, the president of the beautiful country is roaring loudly. Let me out quickly, don't you know who I am? I am the president of the beautiful country. The source of the voice was the white-haired old man who was imprisoned in a special cell and handcuffed. Oh, Mr. President, please, shut up now. A black and fat policeman immediately berated the president indifferently. But as soon as he finished speaking and turned around, he heard the little girl's voice coming from the cell again. Why are you doing this to me? Put me down, please, I'm a good girl, please, let me go. The fat black policeman turned around helplessly. I saw that the former white-haired old man had turned into a delicate and pitiful little girl. If you continue like this, I will definitely reward you with a face spray. You fool. He took out a spray and said viciously to the little girl. When I go out, I will kill you with my own hands. The little girl suddenly showed a wicked smile. Really? He, that's really great. The fat black policeman turned around immediately, showing a disdainful smile. Boom. At this time, suddenly the big truck shook violently and joined up. The fat black policeman suddenly became unstable, fell to the ground and slid out. In an instant, he bumped into the previous cell. Oh! Annoyance flashed across his face, wishing he could greet the 18th generation of the driver's ancestors. But before he could rest against the iron bars of the cell, a pair of blue feet protruded directly from the inside, twisting to his neck suddenly. Click! The fat man took the lunchbox directly. I'm not wrong. A blue mutant in the cell said to the fat black corpse with a look of disdain on his face. This is the Mystique who was captured. The next moment, she directly used her toes to take the key from the man's waist. With a volley, he opened the handcuffs on his right hand with his toes. Just like that, Mystique walked out of the cell easily. At this time, the iron door of the truck was opened from the outside. Magneto, wearing a helmet, walked in full of aura. Did you find that thing? Magneto was not surprised to see Mystique able to escape from the cell by herself. Okay, the formula for the antidote is a mutant. Mystique spoke immediately. It's a mutant child located in the Worthington experiment. His ability is very special. If there is no him, they have nothing to play. In fact, this is the main reason why Mystique was captured. Otherwise, Mystique wants to escape, and the probability of catching her is too small. Very good. You really are the woman I need most. When Magneto heard this, a smug smile appeared on his face. Obviously, he was very satisfied with Mystique's performance. Whoosh! The next moment, Magneto waved lightly at the underground roll call. The roll call that recorded the information of the mutants in the car suddenly flew into the hands of Magneto. He casually listed this point, handed it to the fireman next to him. Quote, no, Jimmy Maduro, robbed 7 banks. Quote, Pyro immediately looked at the first person's name, and briefly introduced him. Magneto gently raised his hand towards the cell where the mutants were held. Click! The suddenly solid door of the cell was instantly crushed like a twist. Then from inside, 7 people walked out in a row. 7 banks robbed simultaneously. Only then did Pyro tell all the information. But after finishing speaking, he himself felt a little shocked. As the mutant ability of the clone, I can use someone like you. Magneto nodded in satisfaction. Okay, I'll join. Maduro immediately shrugged and joined directly. The man in the helmet in front of him gave him a great sense of oppression. Therefore, he, being sensible, did not reject Magneto. Welcome to join us. Magneto nodded to Maduro, and then continued to walk towards the next cell. Be extra careful with this. While walking, Burning Man turned to the second page of the directory, and when he saw the information on it, he immediately issued a reminder. Quote, no, Coin Marco, in solitary confinement. Oh, listen to. The prisoner must be imprisoned forever. Once he gets the momentum, it will be unstoppable. Pyro suddenly exclaimed. The introduction above is somewhat exaggerated. But Wan Chi Wong, who was next to him, suddenly smiled when he heard what his partner said. Great. He immediately raised his hand. Cell was opened directly. I saw a tall and burly man locked inside. The opponent's limbs, waist, and even neck were all restrained by special instruments. The size of the detention far exceeds that of Mystique in the previous Medoro. It can be seen from here. The danger level of the prisoners in cell is absolutely high. Very good. Juan Magneto looked at the burly man in front of him, and his face was very satisfied. It can be seen that it can be treated like this. The ability of the mutant in front of him is definitely very powerful. That's why they had to make such a move. After all, even the former Mystique did not have this treatment. What do they call you? Magneto looked at Koimiko in front of him, and asked. Red Tank, the strong mutant said immediately. Red Tank, I can't think of a reason. Magneto was suddenly a little surprised. The name does sound weird. Let me out, I need to pee. Red Tank said loudly immediately. Quote. The burning man next to him was suddenly speechless. Click, click, click. Magneto directly raised his hand and tapped lightly. The special iron cuffs tied to the Red Tank exploded like mud. Boom. The Red Tank came out of the cell immediately, its heavy body directly crushed the big truck and shook it. No. At this moment, Mystique suddenly exclaimed, and then slammed in front of Magneto. I don't know when, a policeman suddenly woke up. Putting the pistol with the mutant antidote in his hand, he immediately shot at Magneto. Puff. But Mystique has long stood in front of Magneto. So this shot hit Mystique's shoulder solidly. Asshole. Pyro immediately raised his hand, and hot flames flew out of his hand. Burn that cop to ashes. In fact, as Magneto's bodyguard, he should have done this. Unexpectedly, Mystique protected Magneto and was shot with the mutant antidote. What? At this moment, Mystique fell to the ground, trembling in pain. The whole person rolled back and forth, and the traits of mutants on his body even began to gradually fade. That's enough to turn into anyone's appearance skin, gradually disappearing from the body. Instead, it is the skin of ordinary people. Although fair and tender, Magneto's eyes were full of grief and disappointment. Eric. Mystique looked into Magneto's gaze, and her heart trembled. You saved me. Magneto's eyes flashed with determination, and he turned and left immediately. Sorry, honey, you are no longer one of us. As soon as these words came out, the burning man next to him suddenly felt his heart tremble. If he was shot just now, would Magneto also? He didn't dare to think about it, fearing that his faith would collapse directly. What a pity, she was originally extremely beautiful. Magneto was a little heartbroken, but he walked faster. Only Mystique's helpless eyes were left, shining with shock and disbelief. Where are we going? Red Tank asked curiously. Boss, I have found the source of the terrifying magnetic field fluctuations before. Before Magneto could answer, the night-walking girl next to her spoke immediately. Very good, let's invite her to be our partner. Magneto said with a smile, a hint of amusement flashed in his eyes. Charles, I said back then, either kill her or don't seal her. Such a powerful force, can it be sealed casually? Hearing Magneto's words, Nightwalker hesitated. Boss, are you really going to find her? The source of that power is very powerful. That's the most powerful mutant I've ever seen. Even you, the boss, are far inferior to her. I'm afraid she has surpassed the division of level 5. If you can't control it when you bring it back, then you are not a companion. Instead, they brought back a killing god, and they didn't even guarantee their own safety. Let's go. Magneto had a smile on his face. Chin, he is determined to win. Storm drove towards a small town not far from the city at a very high speed. That's Jean Grey's house. It was from there that Professor X took her away. Earlier, Professor X had already found out, and Chin returned to her home. Professor, have you ever thought about what to do if we can't play the piano in the past? Lee Ho-shin sat next to Professor X, seeing that the other party was very quiet, he couldn't help asking curiously. Although Lee Ho-shin and Chin had fought against each other before, the two seemed evenly matched, and even Lee Ho-shin had the upper hand. But Lee Ho-shin is very clear that Chin's power is really too strong. When she was in Yakali Lake, Chin just woke up, and the power of the phoenix in her body was pitifully small. This is actually able to fight Lee Ho-shin for so long in that state. It can be seen how powerful the Phoenix Force is. After all, the power of the Phoenix comes from the primordial universe. It is said that it was born at the beginning of all things, and it is a chaotic, immortal, eternal and impermanent existence. It is the creator and source of the spiritual mind of all things that exist or will exist in the future in the infinite multiverse. From this point, we can see how powerful the Phoenix Force is. Although Lee Ho-shin's Super Saiyan is indeed not weak, but the Super Saiyan 1 form. Relatively speaking, at most it is between the Heavenly Father level and the single universe level. Not even multiverse level yet. But the power of the Phoenix is a real multiverse power. So Lee Ho-shin was also a little uncertain. Even if I can't fight, I have to go, because this is my duty. After Professor X looked at Lee Ho-shin and was silent for a while, he spoke slowly. What is your duty? Lee Ho-shin was taken aback for a moment. He is not very clear about this statement. After all, there is no mention of Professor X's responsibilities in the original book. Not many people know about this matter, not even Orlo and Scott. Professor X said immediately, "Teacher, what is it that even we don't know?" When Stormy heard what Professor X said, she immediately became interested. Actually, in '98, I made a non-disclosure agreement with some strong humans that must be adhered to. Because it happened in '98, this incident is also called the 98-year confidentiality agreement. At that time, the mutants were represented by me and Magneto, and the other side was the terrifying human powerhouse. A lot of things were said and even fought over. But the result of the final agreement is that both parties mind their own business. Until the critical moment, each other cannot interfere with each other's affairs. If one side crosses the line, then the agreement will be invalidated, and the two sides will fight endlessly. And in this case, it is very likely to trigger the end of the world. Professor X slowly said this secret that had been hidden in his heart for a long time. It can be said that among the mutants today, no one knows about this matter. Only he and Magneto knew about the confidentiality agreement back then. What? Is there such a powerful existence among ordinary people? Orlo, the Storm Girl, suddenly said with a shocked expression. Of course ordinary humans also have it, a powerful existence. Professor X sighed softly. For example, in the battle back then, that terrifying Ancient One mage. Mutants only have the X gene awakened in their bodies, thus possessing special superpowers. But in the human world, there are all kinds of strange powers. Such as magic, wizards, ancient martial arts, monks and so on. These are very powerful forces. Perhaps in the beginning, it was not as powerful as a mutant, and there were many restrictions. But these powers, after cultivation to the peak, it will be very scary. It can even kill gods with a mortal body. In the non-disclosure agreement in '98, the battle was very fierce. Many mutants died because of this. Many strong mutants died because of that battle before people knew about it. Of the mutants who survived, he and Magneto were the only ones left. But fortunately, the mutant's strength has also been recognized by the strong human beings. That's why there is a 98-year non-disclosure agreement. Otherwise, the living environment of mutants would be much worse than it is now. As Professor X told everyone about this secret, Orlo the Storm, Logan the Wolverine and others fell silent. Unexpectedly, there is such a secret thing that they don't know. That's what it looks like. But Lee Ho-shin suddenly realized. He said why the mutants are so noisy, but there are no superheroes, or even strong men like the Ancient One. It turns out that there is still an agreement of this level between the mutants and the strong human beings. But from this point of view, in this chaotic world, the timeline is really chaotic. Lee Ho-shin couldn't help but sigh in his heart. But he can also understand, after all, there are many forces in this world that can reverse time. Even change the past and future. In the world of Dragon Ball, every time travel will lead to a parallel universe. I don't know if this is the case in the world of Zongman. Although it is not clear how the parallel universe of this Zongman world came into being. But Lee Ho-shin is very sure that this comprehensive world has parallel universes. And many more. Because of the existence of the confidentiality agreement, the other party is not allowed to interfere with the mutants' affairs. And apart from the matter of mutants, I absolutely cannot interfere with human society. Professor X said slowly. Don't look at Professor X as a weak chicken when facing Jean Grey. But that's because Chin's Phoenix Force is too strong. Even Lee Ho-shin, who has a Super Saiyan transformation, is not sure that he can defeat Chin's Phoenix power. Not to mention Professor X. After all, Professor X is dead, and he is at the level of a single universe. If the other party can protect the soul, it will be even weaker, perhaps not as good as ordinary mutants. After all, Professor X's spiritual power cannot affect reality. This is not as good as mental power. However, Chin's Phoenix power is at the multiverse level. That's why it looks a little weak. But in fact, Professor X's strength is not something ordinary mutants can resist. What can resist Professor X's power is Magneto's helmet and Lee Ho-shin's mental barrier system. Others really may not be able to resist. So, if Professor X uses a brainwave enhancer, he will kill all humans in an instant. Perhaps there may be some super powerful people who can barely resist Professor X's brainwave enhancer. But in this way, the entire human world is almost destroyed. And the human superpower is taking revenge and destroying the mutants. I am afraid that there will be no human beings on the whole earth. Whether they were ordinary humans or mutants, they were all dead. Even a powerful force is likely to cause the earth to be fragmented. The worst thing is to cause major changes in the ecological environment of the entire earth, which is no longer suitable for human survival. If this happens, it will really be the end of the world. So for so many years, the two parties have always abided by the confidentiality agreement. Teacher, is there such a powerful existence among human beings? Storm Maiden Orlo spoke immediately. After all, in her opinion, mutants are the most powerful. And Professor X is a top-notch powerhouse among the mutants. Ordinary human beings, can anyone really compete with him? There are people beyond humans, there is a sky beyond the sky, and there is a universe beyond the universe. No one dares to say that he is invincible. Then whether there are mutants stronger than me or ordinary humans, there are naturally countless. What's more, this world is far more than a kind of intelligent life like human beings. Professor X said slowly. His words shocked Storm, Wolverine and others. Even for Lee Ho-shin, it is very guiding. So no matter whether I can defeat Chin or not, I will come. Professor X said. But Yikin's hatred for the professor, I'm afraid this time he will definitely be in danger. Do you still come knowing that you must die? Lee Ho-shin couldn't understand Professor X anymore. Even if you can't stop Jean when you come, what's the point? Now that Professor X is alive, perhaps the confidentiality agreement still has an effect. But if Professor X is dead, will this confidentiality agreement still work? What's more, Professor X can't die, as long as he doesn't stop the Sentinel project. Mutants will still be extinct in the future. Even if the plot of reversing the future did not happen, the Sentinel would have slaughtered the entire human race in the future. After all, Sentinels evolve too fast. Moreover, a Sentinel can superimpose the power of multiple mutants. This made the strong human beings fail to defeat the Sentry in the end. From this point of view, it is quite likely that the strong human side did not pay attention to the Sentinels, thus raising tigers to infest them. In this way, it doesn't matter whether there is a confidentiality agreement or not. So Professor X's life is still very important. It is if he dies before these dangers are resolved. Isn't everything blind? And many more. Solve the danger. Professor X's life. Suddenly, Lee Ho-shin thought of a possibility that shocked him. Is there a possibility that Professor X deliberately let Chin kill himself, so as to release the resentment in his heart? Then the piano of anger and resentment was released, and reason was awakened. In this way, even if Professor X dies, Jean can still protect the mutants. And Chin's power, in a sense, is stronger than that of Professor X. After all, Chin's power is the power of the Phoenix, which is a powerful force at the multiverse level. For a moment, Lee Ho-shin suddenly thought of a possibility. Mutants with the Phoenix force, younger and stronger. Plus those words that Professor X said when he left the academy. It's almost like paving the way for the violin. By the way, if I remember correctly, it's in the final egg of the last stand. Professor X seems to be resurrected through the vegetative brother. It seems that Professor X is not as simple as it seems. Lee Ho-shin suddenly thought secretly in his heart. After all, I have reached that position and experienced so many things. How could it be simple? He thought about it, and immediately felt normal. Also, even if Chin's outbreak this time caused the Phoenix Force to awaken more and become stronger, But even if I can't beat Jean Grey's Phoenix Force, she won't even try to kill me. If it was Lee Haoshan before, he still didn't have this confidence. But Lee Haoshan, who has the template of Majin Buu's inheritance, does have this confidence now. He obtained the Majin Buu template, although his overall strength has not improved much. But the ability to survive is at least 100 times stronger than before. Lee, your mood swings are very high. At this moment, Professor X's voice suddenly appeared in the depths of Lee Haoshan's heart. Invaded my mind. No, the mental shielding system didn't respond, which means that Professor X didn't invade me. It should be some kind of superpower about the mind. Lee Haoshan suddenly realized something in his heart. He suddenly thought that in Dragon Ball, the evil magician Bafity also possessed a similar ability. Telepathy can be communicated to humans throughout the planet. He can even clearly know what the other party is thinking. It's a pity that I don't know these superpowers like telekinesis, and neither does Majin Buu. Lee Haoshan secretly thought in his heart. However, Majin Buu also has telekinetic power, but is more inclined to Qin's conventional physical telekinetic power. With Lee Haoshan's current strength to use his mind power, it shouldn't be much worse than Qin. Of course, this is about Jean's pure mutant abilities. What does not include the opponent is the Phoenix Force. Professor, Lee Haoshan immediately wanted to organize his words. After all, this matter is hard to say. You don't need to speak, just think in your heart. Professor X gave Lee Haoshan a look. He didn't want Logan and Orlo to hear what happened next. Okay, Lee Haoshan understood immediately, and answered directly in his heart. Ha ha, it seems that you have already guessed my purpose. You are the smartest child I have ever seen. Unfortunately, you came late. If it was 30 or 40 years earlier, the situation of mutants would definitely not be what it is now. Professor X suddenly said with emotion. He is more and more satisfied with Lee Haoshan. Powerful and smart, and now it seems to be responsible. If such a person appeared earlier, he would definitely be his best and perfect heir. It can lead mutants out of a new future. Even if Lee Haoshan wants to become the king of mutants, he agrees. After all, he didn't see any ambition in Lee Haoshan's eyes. It was a very pure look. It is fundamentally different from Magneto. In fact, Lee Haoshan has a somewhat easy-going personality. Coupled with the inherited Kakarot template, it has a pure heart. And the fat devil Buu also became kind because he absorbed the great Kai Wangshan. This makes Lee Haoshan, although not kind, but also a very pure person. That's why Professor X commented on Lee Haoshan like this. Professor, the root of a person is the soul or the consciousness? Lee Haoshan asked with some doubts. In the final battle, Professor X was reduced to ashes, but he was able to be resurrected with the help of his vegetative brother. This made Lee Haoshan think of Orochimaru involuntarily. But it seems there are different places. So is the core of a person the soul or the consciousness? He was a little puzzled. If it is a soul, he has traveled through. Is it the time travel of the soul, or the time travel of consciousness? This is the first time someone has asked that. Professor X was taken aback for a moment. Soul, and consciousness, which one is the core? Professor X didn't expect Lee Haoshan's question. Consciousness, in a sense, may be the soul. It's just that it's more dissociated, not a whole. For example, Qin, I blocked her power back then, which led to the birth of this second consciousness in Qin's body. It's cruel and greedy. Then you say that this second consciousness has a soul. It's hard to set boundaries. So, it is not clear which one is the core, consciousness or soul. Because the two are inextricably linked. Professor X said. Although he didn't understand why Lee Haoshan asked this matter, he still told what he knew and guessed. If you use consciousness, can you really be reborn? Lee Haoshan asked suddenly. Quote. Professor X was silent for a moment. It seems that you really guessed the truth of the matter and what I'm going to do next. He couldn't help but sigh. Lee Haoshan is really too smart to even guess this matter. Is it really possible? In fact, Lee Haoshan himself was a little suspicious. Did he really cross over? It is still the consciousness of the original body, the consciousness of the second personality of the war. Or, using consciousness to be reborn from the original body. Whether the rebirth can be completed 100%, I don't know. This is just a part of the subjects I have studied over the years. But I estimate that there should be a chance of success. Professor X said slowly. Because Li Houshan already knew the truth of the matter, Professor X didn't intend to hide it anymore. Since you have already made plans, Professor, I won't say more. Li Houshan said. In fact, he wanted to tell Professor X that his death was for nothing this time. Because Qin's consciousness has not been awakened. And it almost destroyed the Earth. In the end, it was Wolverine who healed himself while enduring the disintegration of chaos. Then with red eyes, he said I love you, which hurt Qin to death. Of course, Li Houshan wasn't sure if it was because of his appearance. There may be some changes in the plot. It's just that Li Houshan is not very optimistic about this. After all, he has already proved before that the gears of fate move forward according to the trajectory. Even if you move him in the direction, the final direction remains the same. Orlo, stop the car, we're here. At this moment, Professor X suddenly called to stop the storm girl who was driving. Do you want me to take Qin away as soon as I go? Li Houshan suddenly thought secretly in his heart. Although Qin can also rely on the power of thought to fly, but if Li Houshan takes him directly out of the Earth to Saturn, can the opponent fly back? With Qin's strength, maybe she wouldn't die on Saturn. And Li Houshan only needs to wait for a while before he has absolute confidence to defeat Qin. Even if the opponent has awakened all the power of the Phoenix, so what? He doesn't eat dry food either. Come here again. Professor X got out of the car, and with the help of Wolverine, he sat in a wheelchair. Yeah, back then, you must have never thought of this, old friend. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from the side. Everyone turned to look. Not far away, Magneto, who was wearing a big cloak and a helmet on his head, walked over in a hurry. The pace of the big horse Golden Knife seems to be about to win the pinnacle of power. There was excitement all over, especially after seeing Professor X. It was even more strange. It's Magneto. Storm immediately became vigilant, while Logan looked embarrassed. If the enemy is someone else, he dares to be tough. But Magneto. Logan only felt pain in the root of his tooth. Eric, you won't tell me, just pass by here. Professor X suddenly said with a smile. Of course, you can come here to see old friends, why can't I? Magneto suddenly laughed. You fool. Storm Girl suddenly looked a little unhappy. Court death. Pyro immediately took a step forward, and with a flick of his hand, a flame ignited. It's just controlling the fire. Iceman is much better than you. Seeing this scene, Orlo immediately showed a trace of disdain. Oh, Charles, you are not very polite and have no rules. Magneto glanced at Storm Girl and said, I don't want to talk nonsense to you today. Professor X waved his hand immediately, adapting to Stormy Girl and the others, don't make extra troubles. Coincidentally, I'm not in the mood to catch up with you here either. Magneto also nodded. Let's go. At this moment, the two walked towards the house like old friends they hadn't seen for a long time. Don't go in, just leave this matter to me alone. When Professor X said this, he took a deep look at Li Houshan. Because of all the people present, only Li Houshan guessed his intentions and thoughts. Li, don't tell the truth to Orlo and the others. Otherwise they won't agree, but someone has to do it. The few people Eric brought are not weak, please help me take care of Orlo and them. At this moment, Professor X's voice appeared in Li Houshan's heart again. Li Houshan looked at Professor X and nodded slightly. For Professor X, he has gradually gained some understanding. This is a person who is quite different from Charles on the screen. Not good or bad, but a firm stand. Soon Professor X and Magneto entered the room. Li Houshan could sense that the aura of people in the room was enormous. If the opponent has the method of chi cultivation, I believe that the combat power will be improved soon. Worthy of being the daughter of the Phoenix, the thickness of this aura is not weaker than mine at all. He could feel the huge potential in the opponent's body. If they are all released, they will definitely be no worse than the current Li Houshan. It's just a pity that people in this world are not good at using chi. Red Tank, Night Walker, Burning Man, Arclight, Clone Man. At a glance, these are the only people who can be recognized. There are also some unrecognizable characters, most of whom are small people. Hey boy, what are you looking at? At this moment, the grumpy Red Tank suddenly spoke. He didn't like others looking at himself like they were looking at commodities. Control the world, and control other people's shit and fart. I need you, a pervert, to take care of what I watch. Lee Ho-shin frowned suddenly. He also doesn't like people talking to him in this tone. The current Lee Ho-shin has two templates. Whether it is the template of the bloody fighting nation Kakarot. Still moody, if you are unhappy, you will turn into a Majin Buu template who eats chocolate. He is not allowed to swallow his anger. With these two masks, he is doomed not to be a teenage mutant ninja turtles. Isn't the purpose of working hard to become stronger is that no one dares to turn the table when serving food? You dare to call me a pervert? Boy, I'm going to pretend you are meat sauce, no one can save you. The red tank suddenly became furious. You guys who live in the ivory tower, do you want to do it? At this time, a short young man next to the red tank said fiercely with spikes on his face. Lee Ho-shin looked at the short young man, but couldn't remember his name. It's really too low level, without the slightest sense of existence. Handsome, you are a bit arrogant. With a bang, the Night Walker flashed in front of the red tank from behind the crowd. Let me see, what capital do you have? The night girl suddenly said with a provocative look. The mutant ability blooms instantly. But the next moment, her body trembled, and she couldn't help but take a few steps back. So strong. The opponent's mutant level is even higher than that of Magneto. Although it seems that it has not been developed to the limit. But this huge potential shocked her, definitely surpassing Magneto. Even Night Walker suspects that the potential of the handsome mutant in front of her is no worse than that of the one in the room. It's her mutant ability, and Nightmare can't be mistaken. Red Tank, kill him. Otherwise he may become our worst enemy. Nightcrawler exclaimed. Although he is also very strong now, Night Walker can detect it. There is still a large part of the opponent's mutant potential that has not been developed. Now is the best time to kill each other. Otherwise, once the opponent's potential explodes, it may be very difficult to be killed. But Night Walker doesn't know that Lee Ho-shin's ability does come from the X gene. But Lee Ho-shin's combat power comes from the systems created by the X gene. Its strength exceeds the potential already developed by the X gene. That's exactly what I mean. With a roar, the red tank began to gather strength and took a few steps back. It's just a mutant. Lee Ho-shin suddenly showed a sneer. The red tank is called Cain Marko in Marvel's comics. Although often mistaken for a mutant, his powers do not actually come from the X gene. Rather, it came from the evil god Satorik. The evil god Starak can produce a ruby with magical powers. Anyone who touches the gem will gain magical powers and become a red tank. This makes the power of the red tank inexhaustible and inexhaustible. You can easily make your own body invincible. It can even resist Thor's hammer and Wolverine's Edmund metal steel claws. Especially when the body of the red tank is activated, it converts terrifying energy into kinetic energy. At this time, nothing can stop it anymore. Only to be destroyed. Although the guy in front of him, who is also called the red tank, has abilities close to the red tank in the comics. But in fact, this is just an ordinary mutant called Red Tank. Because Lee Ho-shin didn't detect the breath of evil god level on the opponent's body. Kid, die. Boom boom boom. At this time, the red tank had already started to run and rammed towards Lee Ho-shin. This kid is finished. No one or anything can stand against the red tank. Even tanks and armored vehicles will be smashed to pieces. Seeing this scene, other people immediately showed complacent expressions on their faces. It seems that Lee Ho-shin was also alive and turned into a pool of meat sauce under the impact of the red tank. Hateful. When Storm Girl saw the other party attacking Lee Ho-shin directly, she wanted to attack immediately. Boom boom boom. However, at this moment, suddenly there was a shock in Chin's home. Everyone was taken aback, looking at the house. I saw the wooden house suddenly began to tremble. Next moment, even the nearby ground began to shake, as if a magnitude 10 earthquake had occurred. The violent vibration caused the surrounding buildings to collapse, and the cars overturned one after another. Professor. Storm Girl's expression changed drastically. She turned around sharply and rushed towards the room. Don't even think about going in. But at this time, Night Walker disappeared instantly and appeared in front of Storm Girl, trying to stop Storm Girl. After all, Magneto's orders were to keep no one in the house. So they absolutely don't allow Storm Lady and others to enter the house. Go away. But at this time, Storm Girl was very anxious. How could she let the other party stop her? Boom. She saw her eyes suddenly turn white, and a powerful force filled the surroundings. A terrifying force of thunder surged out immediately, blasting on the body of the night-walking girl. Boom. The night walker was immediately blown away. She didn't expect that the Storm Girl's attack was so fast and so decisive. The storm immediately ran towards the house again. However, the night walker, who had just been knocked into the air, suddenly disappeared in place. Bang bang bang. The next moment, the sound of fierce fighting came from inside the room. Obviously, Nightwalker was not to be outdone, and started a fierce battle with Storm Girl. Seeing this scene, Wolverine Logan also ran into the house. Don't try to make trouble. But how could the pyro next to him let Wolverine rush in so easily? Immediately, he raised his hand, grasped the lighter in his palm, and let out a trace of flame. Boom! Under his ability to control fire, it turned into a terrifying fireball with a diameter of several meters and rushed towards Wolverine. Wolverine suddenly raised his hand, and the Edmund metal claws popped out of his hand. Puff! The claws instantly tore through the flames. He ignored Burning Man's resistance at all, and rushed straight into the house. Seeing that Wolverine was not stopped by his attack, Pyro's expression changed immediately. Beast! Cursing secretly, he rushed in with the Hedgehog Man. At this time, the fighting sounds in the room became more intense. Apparently the two sides have fought. But their fight did not affect Professor X and others in the innermost room of the house at all. At this moment, Chin was sitting on the bench, her eyes were black, and her face was covered with all kinds of weird blood vessels. Get out of my brain. Chin gritted his teeth and said. That's right, don't let him control your mind, Charles likes to brainwash people. You are free and no one can control you. Magneto, who was watching the excitement nearby, suddenly spoke bewitchingly. Eric, you fool, shut up. Do you want Chin to go berserk? That may cause the end of the world. Professor X immediately scolded. Here, me, get out, go. Boom. Suddenly, a terrifying mental force erupted from Chin's body. It turned into a terrifying storm visible to the naked eye, sweeping around. With her at the center, everything began to gradually disintegrate. This is a terrible decomposition of thoughts. All the places that are attached to the mind will return to chaos and turn into the most essential molecular state. Chin, don't be controlled by evil consciousness. Professor X showed a gentle smile. He didn't feel any fear at all because this huge thought force had already started to attack his body. It seems that in his opinion, death is not something to be afraid of. As long as Chin can restore her personality, everything is worth it. Boom. At this time, there was a loud noise outside. I saw the red tank that was already running, but was abruptly stopped by Lee Haoshan. The terrifying power exploded directly centered on the two of them. As if a missile exploded, there was a huge deep pit more than 10 meters long and more than 10 meters deep in an instant. Appeared at the feet of the two. The red tank, which claimed to be unstoppable by anyone, was stopped by Lee Haoshan. Puff! But at this moment, Lee Haoshan's body gradually shattered like mud. Ha ha ha, boy, I said I would smash you into a pulp, now you are dead. When you arrive in hell, repent slowly. Seeing this scene, the red tank roared excitedly. As expected of a red tank, although there is still some gap with the red tank in the comics. But it has definitely reached the alpha level, and it is the top level. Lee Haoshan couldn't help admiring immediately. The power of the red tank is really strong. Especially if you give the opponent time to accumulate energy and run up, the opponent's collision force is really very powerful. The easiest way to deal with the red tank is to take action when it is not fully active. Otherwise, once it is allowed to run, it will produce terrifying power. Even ordinary alpha-level mutants couldn't resist it. Even if Wolverine was hit hard, it would fall apart. Of course Wolverine won't be killed. After all, inside the opponent's body, there is the so-called hardest adamantium metal. Coupled with the opponent's super self-healing ability, it is very difficult to want to die. But Lee Haoshan, who has the Majin Buu template, is more survivable than Wolverine. Chi. Therefore, in the shocked eyes of the red tank, that corpse was like mud. It squirmed instantly, like a ball of glutinous rice paste. In a blink of an eye. Then he returned to his appearance as Lee Haoshan. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Seeing this scene, Red Tank was stunned, his eyes full of disbelief. The Red Tank is a typical example of well-developed limbs and a simple mind. So he, who was not smart at all, was immediately stunned when he saw this scene. This kind of mutant who was smashed into a meat paste can still recover. This is the first time he has met. Especially before, the opponent relied on his strength to block and stop his impact. Although the other party was also smashed into a meat paste, it can be seen. The strength of the opponent is definitely very strong. Even under normal conditions, it is stronger than him. After all, once he starts to run, his strength will increase tenfold or 100-fold. In this case, you can stop yourself. It shows that the opponent's strength is absolutely amazing. But now, the opponent still can't kill him. Do you still have an immortal body? I do not believe. The Red Tank roared suddenly, turned around and ran away. Boom boom boom. After drawing a certain distance, the Red Tank rushed towards Li Hoshan again. This time the speed is faster. Even the Red Tank's body began to glow with red light. This is the friction of the air, the flame that is rubbed out abruptly, and the energy radiance released by the explosion of kinetic energy. Terrible kinetic energy erupted instantly, and under the movement of the Red Tank, its power exceeded that of a cannonball. Go to hell. Boom. The Red Tank slammed into Li Hoshan's body again. Good come. And Li Hoshan propped up his arms and stood in front of him, with a happy smile on his face. Boom. The terrible explosion appeared again. In an instant, there was another deep pit under the two of them. This time the deep pit is even tens of meters long and more than 10 meters deep. The whole street was destroyed. Li Hoshan directly turned into a pool of mud, looking very miserable. Haha, I just said that there is no such thing as immortality. It's not dead yet. The Red Tank immediately roared with laughter. But before he could finish laughing completely, he saw the mud on the ground and gradually began to squirm. Chi chi chi. In the blink of an eye, he turned into Li Hoshan again. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. The Red Tank was stunned when he saw this. The first time may be a coincidence, but the second time he has already shown his strongest strength. Unless you give him a distance of several hundred meters to run up. Otherwise, it is basically the strongest state. But in this way, he still couldn't kill Li Hoshan. How is it possible for the other party to recover without damage? You've tried your best, but I haven't done it yet. Li Hoshan was stunned to see the Red Tank. In a daze, the corners of his mouth suddenly curled up in a daze. Boom. The next moment, his whole body was tumbling. A wave of golden air, like a flame, bloomed from around him. Facing mutants of the level of Red Tank, Li Hoshan directly chose to transform into a Saiyan. Otherwise, ordinary attack, maybe for this kind of tank with high defense and thick flesh. Really hard to impress. You still transform. Red Tank was taken aback again. You have to be careful, I may be a bit cruel after my transformation. Li Hoshan grinned. Boom. Suddenly disappeared in place, and the whole person rushed forward rapidly. He actually bumped into the Red Tank directly and fiercely. Bang bang bang. This time, the Red Tank was directly knocked out. The huge body, like a big iron ball, rolled out on the ground. There was a shallow drag mark on the dragged ground. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. The Red Tank was suddenly stunned. He used to run up to bump into others, but he didn't expect it. This time, it was knocked into the air by someone else. As expected of a Red Tank, I have taken out the Super Saiyan state and rushed towards you at the fastest speed. It just knocked you tens of meters away. Li Hoshan couldn't help sighing immediately. This Red Tank is really a meat shield. With the force of his impact just now, even a few big mountains can knock out holes in an instant. After all, at that speed, it exploded completely, and it was terrifyingly powerful. But it just knocked the Red Tank dozens of meters away. This shows that the defensive power of the Red Tank is really strong. I don't believe it, it must be fake. The Red Tank immediately got up from the ground, then slammed his chest hard, and roared frantically. Then the next moment, he ran away. Seeing this scene, Li Hoshan didn't try to stop him. In a blink of an eye, the Red Tank ran a distance of nearly 400 meters. This is already the maximum power distance that he can exert his power. You didn't stop me, you're courting death yourself. The red tank roared frantically. Boom boom boom. Using both legs, the red tank rushed towards Li Haoshan again. He didn't believe that the opponent was so strong. As long as his red tank runs, he is absolutely invincible. No one can stop him until his kinetic energy runs out. It seems that you are very confident in the power you will generate when you run. A trace of fighting intent flashed across Li Haoshan's eyes. Saiyan's warlike and aggressive blood was stimulated at this moment. Suddenly, waves of air flickered all over his body, and at this moment, the air was raised to the maximum limit. The golden flames around the whole person are as round as a ball. This is the technique to completely release chi. Boom. In an instant, a long beam of light was raised behind Li Haoshan. He flew up quickly. The speed was so fast that it rushed straight towards the red tank like a flying bullet. At this moment, the red tank also rushed towards Li Haoshan frantically with its arms folded. He didn't believe that the other party could really be so powerful. I'm going to knock you into the air, smash you to pieces. Red tank's eyes were red. Boom. The two collided immediately. Next moment, the terrifying force of the impact erupted, forming a mushroom cloud. The terrifying shock wave spread out in an instant, turning the surrounding area into a deep pit. It was as if a meteorite had fallen from the sky, smashing the ground out of such a large area. The smoke and dust filled the air and took a long time to dissipate. In the deep pit, the red tank lay trembling on the ground. He was invincible, but he was hit by the opponent, smashing all the bones in his body. No, it's fake, it's a spiritual illusion, he's controlling my mind. This is absolutely not true. Red tank muttered to himself. But the pain all over his body made him understand from the bottom of his heart that this was not fake. Everything is true. He, the red tank, lost to the mutant in running and hitting. And Li Haoshan on the opposite side was also deformed by the collision. The arms, chest, and abdomen are all rotten. There is less than 1/3 of the whole body left, and even the head is only the size of a fist. The impact of the red tank was indeed extraordinary. With his defense power raised to the maximum extent, he was still hit like this. In that state at that time, not to mention ordinary thermal weapons, even rocket launchers and missiles could not hurt it in the slightest. But it still looks like this. It can be seen that the power of the red tank is indeed amazing. If it was someone else, even Colossus, he would be smashed into a pulp at this moment. Even Wolverine, who can guarantee that he will not be killed, has to lie in a dark corner, and he doesn't know how long it will take before he recovers. But it's a pity that Li Haoshan, who has the template of the Devil Buom, didn't do any damage at all. Whoosh! In a blink of an eye, Li Haoshan returned to his original state. Seeing this scene, the twitching red tank on the ground rolled his eyes and passed out. He is completely desperate. Okay. Seeing this scene, Li Haoshan was a little curious. But he didn't know that it wasn't caused by the serious injury at all. It was the red tank who was in despair and was blasted by Li Haoshan's heart. However, Li Haoshan ignored the fainted red tank. Instead, quickly analyzed the battle just now. It seems that it is indeed a matter of the rules of the universe. Li Haoshan analyzed his battle with red tank, and immediately had some clues. If he didn't have the template of Majin Buu, he would have the power to die. I'm afraid he has no choice but to face the red tank so head-on. We can only adopt flexible tactics, flying to high altitudes and attacking with air bombs such as the shock wave of the tortoise. But with that level of attack, it is very likely that it can only hurt the red tank, but not kill it. After all, the red tank can run while being beaten. When he started running, it wasn't just the impact force that became stronger. Stamina, defense, etc. will be greatly improved. It's just the red tank in front of him, just the mutant red tank. Rather than the red tank created by the evil god Starak Ruby, it is actually not too strong. But even so, he was still able to fight Li Haoshan to this extent. So Li Haoshan believes that this universe has a special law that limits the power in the Dragon Ball universe. Otherwise, let alone Kakarot in Super Saiyan 1 form. Even when Vegeta, who had just arrived on Earth, had only 18,000 combat power. They can easily burst into stars. Then if you want to destroy mutants whose strength is less than the single universe level, only those between the Earth level and the Heavenly Father level. Simply a breeze. But it turned out not to be that easy. So Li Hoshan already understood that there must be some kind of cosmic rules between the two parties. It was the power of the rules that limited the power created by his template. But Li Hoshan gradually understood. After all his abilities come from the X gene. So whether it's the system he created, or the power of these template characters, all cannot violate the rules of this universe. It's just that his X gene seems to be extremely powerful. It shouldn't be the alpha level or omega level in the conventional sense. It should be an even more terrifying existence. That's why it can have such a powerful ability. All of a sudden, many things that I couldn't figure out before were all figured out. And at this moment in Chin's house, Magneto's face showed a hint of shock. Even horrified. Although he knew Jean was powerful, Charles had absolutely no control over her. But I didn't expect it to be so powerful. Charles didn't even have a chance to resist, and was directly broken down by the power of thought. No bones left, completely disappeared from this world. But in fact, this is not the original intention of Magneto. Originally, he just wanted Jean to teach Charles a good lesson. Who made that fool Charles always fight against him? Then just drive Charles and the others away. At that time, Magneto will take Chin away again to complete his next plan. Unexpectedly, Charles was directly killed by Chin. Charles. Magneto took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down. In the blink of an eye, his face seemed to become cold and heartless. At this moment, Chin seems to have really calmed down due to the death of Professor X. Magneto came in front of the other party, looked at the absent-minded Chin and said, "Let's go." At this time, Chin's mind was very chaotic, and her consciousness became muddled. The professor's death caused her to experience a brief confusion. Upon seeing this, Magneto took the opportunity to take Chin away. How did it become like this? But when Magneto came out of the room, he suddenly looked confused. I saw the surrounding area turned into ruins, as if after a terrible battle. It was caused by the battle between the Red Tank and the young man next to Professor X. The Night Girl said with a shocked expression on her face. He saw the battle between Red Tank and Li Hoshan just now. It's simply terrifyingly strong. Whether it's the powerful power of the Red Tank running for hundreds of meters at the end, or the golden flame that burst out from Li Hoshan. It simply exceeded her perception. At that moment, the power that the two erupted was so powerful. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.